Hi guys, welcome back to our Dutch farmhouse. If you're new here, my name is Naomi and fall is definitely on its way. Very soon now I will start taking things out of the garden, emptying some of the garden beds so that I can plant onions and garlic, which will sit there very comfortably during the winter and then come back up in spring. But at this time there are still some tomatoes, some zucchinis coming out of there, and also a whole bunch of herbs. I also dive deep into the online world of wallpapers and fabrics for curtains, as I am itching to get started on DIYs that will make this farmhouse feel more farmhousey, if you know what I mean, and make it as cozy and inviting as I can. Now last week I added this windowsill to the kitchen, which seems like a tiny little thing, but to me it's a major upgrade because this ridge here was unfinished this entire time and it was bugging me. So I am incredibly happy with this tiny little piece of wood that I added. But right now, today, I am going to start on that cabinet that I showed you in my last video. So last week I explained that I don't have that warm, cozy farmhouse feeling that I'm looking for in the kitchen yet. And when I found this shelf thing again, which you guys have actually told me is a writing desk, I didn't know that. That totally makes sense though, but it never occurred to me. But it came with the house and I had stored it upstairs, having absolutely no place to put it. And then when I saw it again last week, I suddenly knew exactly what to do with it, because it would go beautifully on top of the counters in the kitchen. But obviously it needs some adjustments because currently it doesn't fit. It sticks out, so not quite perfect just yet. Now, please don't be mad at me. I know some people get a little bit anxious when we're cutting into old pieces of furniture, but first of all, this is old, but I don't think it's actually an antique. But second, and most importantly, I have no other place to put this, and I will not be using it as a writing desk. So this is either going to go back into the attic forever, or I could change it so that I can actually use it and have it live in the house, which I thought was a way nicer option. I love using old pieces of this house in the new version of this house. So I am taking off a chunk of that bottom piece, which apparently is the piece that you're putting your writing on, so that it doesn't stick out of the countertops. I plan to use that bottom piece with a lid for storing bread and potatoes, things that like to be stored in the dark. Now, as established, it's pretty old and a little bit battered looking, which I absolutely love. I am hoping that this will bring the very new kitchen a little bit more to an old farmhouse vibe. So I am absolutely not worried about this project being perfect. This thing will be functional, and just because it's functional and original to the house, I will love it. So I didn't plan a whole lot. I just started cutting it up, and I decided to leave the first piece of wood of the lid, the one that had the hinges on it, intact, and then remove the rest. And when I took it apart completely by accident, one of the pieces of the original lid was actually exactly the right height that I needed to cover up the front, like the vertical piece. So that turned out perfectly. Now the lid couldn't close because of the wooden pieces that were still on there on the inside. It would have been nice to remove those, but when I tried to pry them apart earlier, the wood started to split. So I didn't dare do that again. So I just cut off the ends using my multi-tool so it would close again. It might not be perfect carpentry, what I did here, but it works. And the finished result, in my opinion, kind of looks like it's always been this way. So I am very happy with it, and it looks very good on the countertop. I did decide to move it back to the other wall in the end. I think it got to be a little bit too crowded on the left side. So now imagine a moody wallpaper behind it, like a blue moody wallpaper, and then some old frames around it. I have some wallpaper samples coming in, so very exciting. now, although in many places we can definitely see fall coming in, we are having one more day of summer weather this weekend. It's about 26 degrees Celsius outside, which is absolutely lovely. The vegetable garden, however, is slowly coming to its end. The last couple of things are coming out of there now. We still have some tomatoes and some zucchinis and some beans coming out, but most of it has slowed to a halt now. So bit by bit, I will be resetting the gardening beds. I will be sowing onions and garlic for next spring. And then besides that, I just want the garden to be nice and tidy during the winter. I tend to kind of leave things at the end of the season. You know, the weather gets bad and then I don't really feel like going out there to clean things up, but it just looks so messy all the way up until spring, until I feel like doing stuff outside again. So this year, I really wanted to make an effort to make everything nice and tidy. So I am starting with taking out the tomatoes. They don't look as good anymore. They definitely have some kind of disease in them, which actually happens every year at the end of the season. It's okay. I've got kilos upon kilos of tomatoes in the freezer waiting for a long canning day. So I'm pretty happy with the amount of tomatoes that we got this year. But the plants are now really going bad. So I'll be taking them out and clearing out this garden bed. I also harvest all of the potatoes that are left in the ground. If you remember, I already harvested a bunch of them a couple of weeks ago, but the skins were still quite thin. So I left these in the ground and I'm taking those out now as well. And then the garden beds that are still left, they still have some veggies in there that are still going. So I'll just leave those until they completely stop and then I'll empty those out as well. I also decided that today was a perfect day for a bit of a feast. We had a whole chicken that was begging to be eaten. And so while that was sitting in the oven nice and long for dinner, I decided I wanted to try and make donuts myself. I hadn't actually done that before, and it sounded like fun. So I just got a recipe online and decided that I was too lazy to knead the dough myself, so I had the KitchenAid do it. But then that didn't really do it well enough, so I still had to go and do it myself. I also do not have any kind of cookie cutter, and I keep running into this and I keep deciding that I don't need them because I don't bake things that require them very often, and I don't really care about having perfectly shaped cookies anyway. But whenever I need to actually cut out a circle of something, I decide to use a water glass. And then I am very quickly reminded that that doesn't work because there's no air going through the bottom of the glass, so it'll be stuck vacuum to the dough. And you know, they say you live and you learn, except I apparently only live. So I should probably get a set sometime. I will update you next time I'm baking something if I've actually done that. But for now, I used a glass for the bigger circle and then a cap from an olive oil bottle for the donut hole. And they look perfectly fine to me. Good morning. It is quite early, it's 9-ish, but it's super dark still. Guess we're in that time again. I have some spices that came in because I cook a lot. So I use a lot of spices and I ran out of some things. So I basically just wait until I have a proper list and then I can order them all at the same time. Turmeric, curry, cinnamon, lemongrass. I am usually a little bit sad about summer ending, but I have to admit that this year I have thoroughly enjoyed the summer. We had a lot of good weather, and so I kind of feel like, you know, it's okay. Summer is over. We're now heading into fall, which is also kind of exciting and cozy. Because now that it's so super dark, even in the morning, I lit candles. That should not be this hard. There we go. This is a lot of paprika, but I go through a lot of paprika. I put like tablespoons in things, and then I also make my own spice mixes for things, so it's nice to have things in stock. So, paprika. I think the rest just goes into the cabinet.
You feel like summer days to me, warm, tender, sunny rays. I hope that we are meant to be.
So you may have seen this behind me because I forgot to take it down, but I have this frame hanging up behind me. I found this frame on the side of the road, which is really, really cool. That stuff never happens to me. So I parked my car in the middle of the road, I jumped out and I got it. And it was actually very roughly thrown on top of a pile of trash, which is very much a shame because it was probably in a better shape before that happened, because I could actually see bits of the frame scattered around on the ground, but I didn't really have time to pick those up because I was parked in the middle of the street. So I brought it with me and I just hung it up here on a hook that was already there, just seeing what it would look like, and I love it in this spot. So I am going to try and make it look a little bit better. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it yet. I'm gonna start with paint. Maybe I can try and recreate the brown, the original brown of the frame, and just paint the missing bits. That is already going to improve it a lot. I have to say, I don't even really hate the way it looks now. It doesn't bother me, but I think I can definitely make it better. So let's try.
Picture frames, lavender paint.
So I very, very carefully moved it into my studio because as I am touching it, tiny bits keep falling off. It's really very, very frail. It's even cracked in many places where bits might come off if I am a little bit too rough with it. So I am trying to be very, very careful, just moving it to the studio and then later moving it back onto the wall and then never touching it again. So obviously all of the spots where chunks of the frame have broken off are now white, which makes it very, very noticeable that a piece is missing. So I am just using some simple acrylic paint to try and recreate that brown that was originally on the frame, keeping in mind that after that I can touch it up with some gold, with some gilding wax that I have, and hopefully coming close to what it looked like before people started using this poor thing as a frisbee. No, it can't be that easy, right? So the burnt umber that I have in a tube is pretty much the color. I added a little bit of yellow, but this is good enough. This is gonna hide it really well. Oh, that's so satisfying. The old paint's actually flaking off. That doesn't help. Why is that though? Why does that happen? Now the biggest bit of damage, as you probably already saw, is that corner here and a little bit on the side as well. Now the letter won't be very visible the way that it's on the wall now because it's on the left side. It's very close to the wall, so you're not really going to see it. So I'm not super worried about that, but the missing corner is definitely one that I regret not looking for on the ground where I found it. It might have been there, but then again, it might also have been in a million pieces. Who knows? I very briefly considered trying to recreate the bigger missing parts, especially the corner one, with some clay and see if I could replicate the pattern and really fix it that way. But so far, the paint alone was already looking really, really good, so that might not really be necessary. I have also ordered a nice art print for inside, which I had printed on a piece of foam. And we have this other piece that I took from the living room that might go nicely next to it. So we'll try some things out later when it's all done and really spruce up this formerly boring corner in the kitchen. So just putting that color on has improved it so much, like even more than I thought it would. I am a little bit worried that if I move it, tiny little bits will fall off again and I'd have to like go back in with my brush, but honestly, is that really such a bad thing? So I put a layer of brown, grayish brown over everything that was damaged, and I'm just going to wait for it to dry so that I can put a little bit of the gilding wax on top of it just to bring back that little gold here at the bottom. But that is really, I think that's all I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to make it more complicated than that because, you know, I could try and mold something in this corner to try and get close to what it was, but it's never going to be. Let's be honest. I am not a sculptor. It's never going to be close to what it was. And now that it's not a white piece here, it's not going to be as noticeable. It's going to be in the corner of the kitchen. I think this has improved it so much already. So I'm going to let it dry and then we'll revisit in a little bit. Okay, the little bit became the next day. I have to admit that adding this gilding wax didn't really have the effect that I was hoping for. I was already a little bit skeptical, really. But the gilding wax obviously is very, very gold and bright, and the shine that is on the frame looks more bronze, so it doesn't really do the same, but it did do exactly what I meant for it to do, which was bring back a little bit of the shine. So that's good. In the meantime, the art prints arrived as well. I had 2 different prints made on foam so that I could see which one would look the best. They are both kind of fall colored, both landscapes, but with different color schemes. I always order 1 sheet of foam and then just put all of the prints that I want on them. That way I only have to pay for 1 sheet. And that is cheaper than if I would have them make them to the right size and order multiple prints. So that's a nice little trick. So after putting them on top of the frame to determine which one I will be using, I found that one of them clearly looked better with the frame itself, color-wise. So I decided to go with this one, which is the one with the red orangey tree in front. Then I cleaned up the back. I removed the hooks that the rope was on earlier and taped the art piece in place with some paper tape. And then I replaced the eye hooks with smaller ones so that it wouldn't come off of the wall so much because the hooks that were on there were pretty large. Now, if you've always wondered how to tie a picture frame cord, this is how. I hope you can see it properly on the screen here, but it's really very easy and very secure, especially when you're paranoid like me and do 5 knots instead of 2. Now, if you look very, very closely, which is impossible because it's high up above the countertops, but if you look very closely, you can see that this frame is not perfect, but from even a little bit of distance, it is looking really, really good. And for a free frame this size with such beautiful decorations around it, I am absolutely over the moon with this thing. I hope you enjoyed tagging along with me this week. I am expecting the wallpaper samples any day now, so I will show those to you next week, and then maybe I can even make a decision, which would be amazing, because I think this wall would be beautiful when it's just a little bit darker and more moody. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.